Hey guys, I'm Sarah Kemp. I'm a senior in Ag Science at NC State, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my great-grandma's house, why it was an important part of the community, and why it's important to my family and me. Later, I'm also going to show you a couple of pieces that I have that were hers that I'm going to put in my house one day. So this is my great-grandma's house. It's in Albertson, North Carolina, which is a farming community in Duplin County. And it's been here since the late 1800s. And my granddaddy was actually born here. And he lived here his whole life until he came to NC State too. And it's just a really important place for my family. It has a lot of memories, and it's been a place where I've just really enjoyed coming my whole life.
Today, Sarah and I'm Sarah's mom by the way, are at one of our farms. It's actually the home place for what used to be our family farm. The home behind me was my grandmother's home, but it was actually constructed by my great-grandparents, which would be Sarah's great-great-grandparents. When they first moved here, this was a dirt road. You can tell now that it's not because you hear the traffic noise back behind us as we speak. As she said earlier, my dad was born here, and he and my grandmother have told me all kinds of stories about things that used to go on with this farm. This farm used to grow field crops, soybeans and corn. It grew tobacco, obviously. I remember going with my grandmother to the tobacco market, which I thought was a big deal. I remember my granddad pulling some tobacco from the tobacco barns or from one of the storage areas for me to actually have a bundle to bring with me because I thought it smelled so good. In addition to having crops, my family also owned and ran a hog market across the road for buying and selling hogs, and they also had a feed mill, a grain mill across the road where they would make grain for animals, feed for animals. In addition to having things that they created for the community, they had their own food supply. They were very much a self-sustaining farm. They had their own hogs, and they had a smokehouse over here where they would hang the meat during the winter, so they would have meat all year long. They had chickens and guineas that they would use for meat and eggs, and they would actually use the eggs sometimes to sell if they needed to purchase something else that they didn't grow here on the farm. They had a garden, obviously, where they would can and keep things. They had fig trees. I remember fig preserves. I've actually made them myself many times. We have pear trees. We had pecan trees. And later on we actually had some blueberry bushes. The family actually at one time grew cotton, and in the very back of the farm there's a wet area back there which is now turned into quite a beautiful lake where they used to grow and harvest rice, and that was a really long time ago. We had, as I said before, we had cattle for beef and for dairy. My dad remembers going out milking the cows, and my grandmother used to make butter with some of that. They also used to have horses to ride. My dad remembers riding horses as one of his recreational activities. And they used to make wagons to have the horses pull. They had horses, work horses, and mules to help tend the fields as well before they had heavy equipment. If you look over here to the right is where once stood the barn that my great-grandfather built. The barn that he built by hand before there were any cranes or heavy machinery to help with that kind of thing. The barn was over 100 years old, and several years ago it succumbed in a bad storm. The wind finished blowing the rest of it down. But it was a beautiful two-story barn where it housed some of the animals, and then upstairs it kept all the hay that they had harvested from their hay fields to feed the animals over the winter when there was no grass in the fields. So the farm has been here quite a bit, and it is fed and clothed and provided recreation and wonderful memories for many, many family members.
So my granddaddy still owns the house and the land, and even though nobody lives here anymore, people still farm the fields around it, and he likes to keep it up. So he's planted some grapevines here behind me, and he's planted some more blueberry bushes, some more pecan trees, more pear trees, and we have fig trees up there, and he's planted a garden for a lot of years when I was younger, and so I've spent a lot of summers down here picking blueberries and figs and picking green beans or tomatoes or digging potatoes or whatever he decided to plant that year. And I just really like coming down here just to be here. I think it's a cool place to be. And I like to go in her house every once in a while and just look around. And I have a couple of pieces that she had in her house that I hope to put in my house one day. It's just a really special thing to me to have things that my family had in my house one day, and to pass down to future family. I hope you've enjoyed sharing a little bit of my family farm with me today. This is a special place for me where I like to come, and so I hope you have that special place for you where you like to go.